No one noticed Daniel at first. Every morning at 5:30, he stood at the same bus stop on the edge of the city, a lukewarm coffee in one hand, a worn-out backpack slung over his shoulder. People just walked right past him without a second thought, businessmen glued to their phones, students with their headphones in, joggers chasing their fitness goals. But Daniel, he wasn't chasing anything anymore. At least, that's what it felt like. 5 years earlier, he had dreams, big ones. He wanted to build something meaningful, something that would leave a mark. He wanted a life that felt truly his, not one he was just surviving day by day. But reality, as it so often does, had other plans. There was the crushing weight of student debt, family responsibilities he couldn't ignore, a growing pile of rejection emails, and a string of jobs that just slowly, quietly drained the life out of him. So, Daniel learned to wait. He waited for a better opportunity to just land in his lap. He waited for a sudden burst of confidence. He waited for the right time. And as he waited, the years passed by in a silent blur. Then, one Tuesday morning, everything changed. It wasn't because something big and dramatic happened, but because something small finally broke him. At work, Daniel watched his manager promote someone younger, someone with far less experience. The applause filled the room, and Daniel clapped too, forcing a smile that felt like it would crack his face. But inside, something shattered. That night, he sat alone in his apartment, with all the lights off, just staring up at the dark ceiling. And he finally asked himself the question he had been avoiding for years. What am I waiting for? No answer came back. And in that heavy silence, he realized something painful: no one was coming to save him. There was no magical moment on the horizon, no perfect time waiting around the corner. Life wasn't holding him back, he was holding himself back. The very next morning, Daniel still went to work. He still stood at that same bus stop. He still felt the familiar grip of fear. But this time, he made a decision. It wasn't a grand gesture to quit his job or to chase overnight success. It was simpler and much harder. He decided to stop waiting. That evening, instead of collapsing onto the couch and zoning out in front of the TV, he opened his old laptop. It was slow. It was loud. It was hopelessly outdated. But it worked. He pulled up a blank document and typed one single sentence. This is where I start. He didn't feel motivated. In fact, he felt exhausted. Doubt screamed in his head. You're too late. Everyone else is so far ahead. You've already failed before. But for the first time in a long time, he just kept typing. 1 hour a night slowly turned into 2. 2 hours turned into habits. And those habits eventually forged discipline. Weeks passed. There was no applause. No validation from anyone. No viral success story. Just quiet, consistent effort in the dark. Some nights, he was so close to quitting. Some mornings, he hated himself for even daring to dream again. But something fundamental was different this time. He wasn't waiting anymore. He was acting. 6 months later, Daniel failed, and he failed publicly. The project he had poured his heart into launched, and barely anyone noticed. Friends would ask, "So, what happened with that thing you were doing?" And the old, familiar shame came rushing back. But this time, he didn't stop. He didn't retreat back into waiting. He looked at what went wrong. He learned from it, and he adjusted his approach. A year after that, a small email arrived, a positive response, then another, and another. It was nothing huge, not life-altering on its own, but it was real. It was progress. Daniel didn't become famous overnight. He didn't suddenly get rich, but his life began to shift in subtle, powerful ways. He walked differently. He spoke with a newfound conviction. He started to believe in himself again. 2 years after that lonely night in his dark apartment, Daniel stood in front of a small group of people. He was sharing his journey not as some grand success story, but as proof that waiting is the real enemy. He ended his talk with one powerful sentence. The moment I stopped waiting for my life to begin, it did, and the entire audience went quiet, not because it was dramatic, but because, deep down, everyone knew it was true. Life doesn't reward those who are ready. It rewards those who are brave enough to start. If you're out there waiting for permission, for the right moment, for a sign this is it, stop. Start scared. Start small. But please, just start. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to follow for more stories like this.